Ecco, buongiorno a tutti e dico 2 o 3 parole in italiano perché poi andremo in inglese, dato il fatto che la nostra generosissima donatrice è venuta dagli Stati Uniti per celebrare la conclusione di 2 restauri sostanziali, enormi, pluriennali in entrambi i casi, e poi un dono in più che abbiamo ricevuto per tutte le arti, non solo quelle visive ma anche quelle acustiche, quella della musica. So it's a great pleasure this morning to welcome Veronica Atkins, who came all the way from America on the occasion of the conclusion of 2 mega conservation projects. One that started many years ago and that's now finally concluded, the one of the tapestries of the royal French Valois family, which are here conserved in Florence because of the connections of the Medici family with the Valois family. This has now been concluded. And now all the 8 tapestries are ready to be rolled up again very soon, because today we have them on view for a few days, and then they will be rolled up, as it will be necessarily so for the future in order to conserve them for the next few centuries. These are works of art that, because of their light sensitivity, but not only, also their oxygen sensitivity, in fact, cannot be shown constantly. It will always be a special event. They will be the series of tapestries with which our new Tapestries Museum at La Paliere will be inaugurated once that the restoration work will be finished. But today we're really totally excited, I think, to see them all together restored for the first time in many centuries. And the other big restoration project is dedicated to a room which is right next door, behind that door, and we will be opening it in a few minutes after the speeches, after the very brief speeches. Don't be worried. You will be going in and we will see the most important fresco cycle done in the early 17th century for the Medici. And it celebrates it depicts 2 battles, 2 very important naval and land battles, the battles of Bona and of Prevesa, securing the Mediterranean, making the Mediterranean safe for trade. That was the objective of the Florentine Medici dynasty, especially of Ferdinando I de' Medici, and thanks to the order of St. Stephen, which is basically the Medici navy based out of Pisa and Livorno, it was possible. As you all know, the order of St. Stephen already had a major role in the Battle of Lepanto in 1570, and also then continuing it to make the Mediterranean safe for trade ships in the following years, in the very first years of the 17th century. But that's not all. Veronica's generosity is difficult to stop, and so she loves not only art but also music. So you might have wondered why we have this piano here. Well, that's another gift that we're receiving today and unveiling, virtually unveiling today. You all know that the Sala di Bona, which was the original part of the original dedication, had another hall which was much smaller here next to it. But once that, under the Habsburg-Lorraine dynasty, the Sala Bianca was constructed with these magnificent stucco decorations by the Albertolli family. This hall also became immediately a hall associated with the history of music. The only one thing that we're afraid that did not happen here is that we know that the young Mozart came here and looked at this, but he decided to not recite here, but to do that in the Villa del Poggio Imperiale, where the Grand Duchess was at that particular evening, and that was the reason why I decided not to do it here. The acoustics are fabulous, and so from the early 20th century onwards, with all the great composers from Schönberg onwards to, and all the great directors to Furtwängler and so on, everyone was here in this room, and in fact, thanks to Veronica Atkins. In fact, just a few years ago, we had Valery Gergiev here with the St. Petersburg Philharmonic, and you all remembered, those who were privileged to be here, the wonderful acoustics of this room. This room is really made for music. We've had, since 3 years, we've had a piano festival twice a year, and we continue that. But always with a borrowed piano. And also, in the years before the pandemic closure, we started a weekly series of concerts every Saturday afternoon, which was a huge success, but also always with a rented piano. So what we now have is one of the very, very best, or arguably the very, very best concert piano that is in existence. And from now on, we have a much lower hurdle because we don't have to rent the piano, which then maybe is not even good enough for this space. This is really up to the importance of this room in the history of music, and it will mean that from now on we will really go ahead with music and fill this room with music on a regular basis, as we had started a few years ago. Now, I have spoken much, much too long. I recognize it is only to express my very, very deep gratitude to Veronica Atkins. I would like now to illustrate those people who were involved with the restorations. I would like to illustrate very briefly the restorations, and Alessandra Griffo will be speaking about the restorations for those of you who were not in the exclusive view this morning of the yes, Alessandra is back here. If you would step up to the podium, please, to give a brief overview of the restoration of the Valois tapestries. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Veronica.
Restoring tapestries required hearts, because it takes a long time to restore one single tapestry, maybe 1 year, and requires a lot of money. And that is done for the future, and for a very short period, tapestries can be hung and shown to public. That's why it is very, very important. It's very, very difficult to find someone who wants to take this job and to support this job. And that's why we really thanks the Medici, the Uffizi friends, Uffizi Galleries friends, and especially Veronica Atkins. This set is a set of 4 or 8 tapestries, and they are, the subject are the Valois fête, the Valois festivities. They were commissioned by Catherine de' Medici, who was the widow at the moment of the King of France, and they show us a beautiful moment of festivities that took place in France, in different places of France. There you can see tournament, there you can see dances and games and fake battles. Sometimes war can be a joke, war can be a game, luckily. And this was intended to show people, to show the nobles of France and all the people who went to visit Catherine de' Medici, how wonderful the Valois dynasty was. Unfortunately, the Valois dynasty ended in 1589, when even Catherine de' Medici died. But it was a good thing for Florence, because the tapestries were part of Cristina di Lorena dowry. And Cristina di Lorena arrived in Florence in 1589 as the wife of Ferdinand I, Grand Duke of Tuscany. And since then, this wonderful set is in Florence. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandra, and I'd like to ask the two conservators to come up, Costanza Perrone-Dazzara and Claudia Bayer. Claudia is here, I've seen her before, and Costanza is next to her to illustrate a little bit what they did.
So, when we received the news that we could actually have this possibility, the chance to work on these wonderful tapestries, it was an enormous joy, because for tapestry conservators, this is the most iconic, unique, extraordinary set. So our first approach was full of careful, obviously very careful, and then we became reasonable, and we decided that we needed help also from a scientific point of view, and we then had to choose the right hands. So we started talking to former colleagues, and we selected very carefully, because we wanted someone who was sufficiently experienced not to be too scared, because you can be very scared in front of such a masterpiece, and who would be skillful enough, and what we say in Italian, who turns the brain on, because our work also brings to a certain kind of wonderful routine, which is nearly a meditation. In this case, you have to be very careful and col cervello acceso, as we say in Italian, every single moment. And that is not easy to find also.
And our team was.
Yes, and our team was, and we were lucky enough that we could actually work along 5 years with the same people, which was, thanks to you, extraordinary. So what really was a big challenge was the cleaning, and we've seen the results of the wonderful, you could appreciate this very shiny, and I hope you appreciated also the colors. So what was a real change in the, let's say, regular procedures for tapestry cleaning is that we always do these fastness tests to test if the original dyes and the restoration, very little, but also the restoration yarns were water fast. And so we discovered that some of these yarns, let's say many, were not, would start bleeding in contact with water, which is something quite rare, because usually, I mean, we've had 60 years between the two of us, experience of tapestry conservation. We had never found so many bleeding yarns in the same tapestry. So there were some reds, and we had the support of this wonderful scientific biologist, her name is Isetta Tosini. She retired recently, but she has been really very, very present and with very clear ideas, and she investigated a lot of things for us. And this is quite still a mystery, because these reds, probably this first tapestry we treated, which was Journey, had never been washed before, and so there was an excess of dye on the silk. This is one of the ideas. Anyway, there were not only reds, but also browns, also oranges that bled. So we washed these tapestries in portions on a low suction table, which is something which has been rarely done. And to control the bleeding, to control the treatment of the metal threads. I mean, who is part of the group has read the way the work was done. Anyway, it was a long procedure, but I think it was successful and we're satisfied with it. And then the actual work on conservation started, and we could choose the best yarns, the silks, the wools. We dyed them ourselves to get the right hue. And our aim was to give them a visual unity, but at a closer look, you should still be able to see our work, which is important, not to try to imitate what these masters had done. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, from the representation of court festivals, of fictional battles, both sea battles and land battles, we go one floor down to the Sala di Bona, which still has the door closed for a few more minutes. This was a huge restoration project, and again, it was not the typical thing that one could find funding for, because this is a room which is, on the one hand, central to the decoration of the Pitti Palace. It's the largest fresco cycle that we have here. But then again, next to the Sala Bianca, it will in the future be visited by all the visitors of the Pitti Palace. And but the work was very difficult. We had to have scaffolding up for over 2 years, and a team of restorers worked on it. So this team was coordinated by the Uffizi delle Pietrature, with whom we regularly work together, our sister institution for conservation, science and restoration. And I would like to ask Maria Rosa Lanfranchi to present the procedures of the restoration and also the frescoes themselves.
Thank you. Just a really brief presentation. Good morning, everyone. Pleased to meet you. I am a restore conservator from the OPD, Uffizi delle Pietrature. And first of all, I bring you greetings from my superintendent, Emanuela Dafra, who could not be with us today, to welcome you to that room. As you can see later, this room is illuminated by, of course, by thanks to a new lighting, but also thanks to the new color scheme obtained from our restoration. The restoration was conducted by the OPD Restores Conservators and directed by Cecilia Frosinini and Renata Pintus. About Restores Conservator, as such, myself and Paola Ilaria Mariotti, together with a group of 6 external colleagues, thanks to your generous donation of funds. And as you will see, the restoration allowed to a brighter image of paintings, having removed the deposits of the environment and the patinas and retouches of previous and ancient restorations. Along with the restorers, conservators, contributed the scientific experts and technicians for documentation, as well as those who took care of a digital archive of the various collected data from the intervention. The restoration has allowed us to learn more about the painting technique, thanks to our close observations and photographic and scientific investigations, and to learn about the new passages in the history of the whole, thanks to careful archival research. And so, let's see our work. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, and I would also like to thank the former superintendent of the Uffizi, Marco Chatti, who is in retirement now, and the present one as well. Now, we have the privilege, this is such an important day, that we have the governor of the state of Tuscany, Eugenio Gianni, who has joined us now. He will give his greetings in Italian, but that is for the Italians who follow us. They will also get a brief overview. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Eugenio Gianni.
Grazie Eike, un brevissimo saluto e scuse per essere solo per pochi momenti, ma contestualmente ho la riunione del Consiglio regionale e quindi posso semplicemente essere qui per ringraziare Veronica Atkins e tutto quello che è stato lo sforzo di mecenatismo che apprezziamo in modo particolare, perché davvero grazie a Eike Smith e quello che rappresenta il mondo di una sovrintendenza che sta facendo molto per Firenze. Oggi noi viviamo nella nostra reggia, in quella che a Palazzo Pitti è stata la dimora che da Eleonora di Toledo ha rappresentato per il Granducato di Toscana il punto di riferimento di una residenza privata che diventava pubblica nel momento in cui Firenze presentava il ruolo di capitale di uno Stato che fondava sulla cultura, anche una sua immagine, una sua propensione distintiva nel mondo. E il fatto di dover essere sempre pronti a vitalizzare quello che è un patrimonio di cultura e di bellezza, quale è il Palazzo Pitti, impone una relazione, una rete e una disponibilità che da tutto il mondo, e in questo caso l'attenzione e l'amore verso la nostra realtà toscana, Veronica Atkins l'ha dimostrata in varie occasioni, e che oggi ci porta a sublimare la sala bianca di Palazzo Pitti proprio con restaurato pianoforte unico nel suo genere al mondo, ci porta a vedere restaurare quello che sono quadri importanti della Sala di Bona, dove si ricorda il prestigio anche di una casata medicea che riusciva con i Cavalieri di Santo Stefano a essere presente già dal 1571 nella presa di Lepanto e quindi nelle battaglie, in questo caso in terra algerina, che riportano questi quadri, e il rapporto negli arazzi dei Valois con quello che era da parte della famiglia Medici un rapporto straordinario e particolare con coloro che si sono alternati nelle dinastie alla guida dello Stato francese. Naturalmente sappiamo che i Valois si interrompono proprio nel momento in cui arriva a Parigi quei 55 anni in cui Caterina de' Medici non solo diventò di un Valois la regina, ma poi di 3 Valois fu la regina madre, perché erano i suoi figli. Purtroppo, nonostante i figli fossero stati 8, la casa si estinse, ma è evidente che il rapporto con la famiglia Valois non poteva che essere così stretto dall'avere qui degli arazzi di questo grande prestigio che si rinnovano attraverso il restauro. Un'operazione quindi importantissima a Palazzo Pitti, e io ringrazio di questa vitalità che noi vediamo attraverso l'istituzione pubblica, attraverso l'associazione, non a caso davanti a me dottoressa Rimbotti, che ringrazio per la sua costante presenza e forza nel ruolo che questa sinergia viene a creare, e naturalmente quei mecenati a cui non finiremo mai di dire grazie, perché ci consentono di tenere alto il profilo che la storia ci ha immeritatamente, non lo so, ma ci ha assegnato e che cerchiamo complessivamente di portare avanti. Grazie. Grazie a Eike.
Grazie Eugenio Gianni, and we return into the English language. So thank you very much to the Governor of the state of Tuscany, Eugenio Gianni, who came to thank Veronica Atkins himself on this occasion. Maria Vittoria Colonna Ribotti has already been mentioned a few seconds ago. It is now your turn, Maria Vittoria, to express the role within the associations, the double, the sister associations, the Friends and the Amici.
Io parlo in italiano?
Come preferisci?
Forse preferisco l'italiano.
Ecco.
Ma credi che è più utile in inglese? Farò un po'.
Sì, metà.
Ok, let's try to do that like that. Tra i tanti sostenitori che... così è vero? Fra i tanti sostenitori che accompagnano la visione degli Amici degli Uffizi e la visione dei Friends of the Uffizi Gallery, siamo onorati oggi di avere con noi la signora Veronica Atkins, una donna straordinaria che ha fatto del supporto alla cultura e all'arte la propria missione, perché questa è una missione, non è un dono, quando è così seguito e quando si seguono le cose che vengono fatte. La signora Atkins è una filantropa attiva e sostenitrice delle arti, delle scienze e della medicina. Crede fermamente che le arti e la cultura siano pietre miliari fondamentali della nostra società e migliorino la qualità della vita delle persone. La signora Atkins annovera la Galleria degli Uffizi tra i destinatari delle sue più importanti erogazioni. In circa 5 anni gli Uffizi hanno beneficiato di 2 milioni di euro, oltre che delle donazioni di un prezioso pianoforte, affinché i visitatori delle sale possano godere delle opere d'arte con l'accompagnamento musicale, che sicuramente è un plus, qualche cosa di straordinario e di nuovo, ma che devo dire era già stato tentato dal direttore di questo museo, il quale appunto aveva questa passione, ne parlava spesso. Io ho capito la cosa e ho cercato di invogliare la nostra donatrice. Le donazioni sono generose, ma vorrei dire che c'è qualcosa di anche più importante che il valore della donazione in se stessa. Ed è questo che è interessante nella signora Atkins, ed è molto difficile trovare il sostegno per il restauro delle opere d'arte difficili, complesse, quelle opere d'arte che si trova sempre qualcuno che vuol dare qualche cosa per Michelangelo, ma è molto difficile di trovare qualcuno che abbia in sé una tale passione da presentare delle cose che sa, da restaurare delle cose che sa non saranno viste per lunghi periodi, perché è assolutamente impossibile farle vedere tutto il tempo senza distruggerle. E questo mi rende ancora più riconoscente verso, e ci deve rendere tutti più riconoscenti verso la signora Atkins, perché è proprio una qualità di donazione diversa e che ci fa capire la persona, cosa c'è dietro la donazione. Direi è una vera mecenate, che è parola che viene oggigiorno usata di rado, però è il mecenatismo quello che fa la differenza fra un donatore e un altro donatore. Il mecenate, che è parola nata peraltro nel Rinascimento, quando la gente dava perché gli piaceva di dare, perché era desiderosa di dare e partecipava attivamente di quella donazione. E in questo senso vorrei anche dire che forse troviamo questo tipo di donatori più facilmente fra gli americani che fra gli italiani, perché in Italia oramai purtroppo le donazioni sono rivolte a cose che hanno successo, a generi così di prima necessità che magari si vendono. È più difficile trovare il donatore di una cosa come gli arazzi di Valois, e questo in effetti dà la qualità della persona e la qualità che noi vorremmo raggiungere fra i nostri donatori. C'è un desiderio vero, reale, di partecipare, di conservare questa civiltà che abbiamo avuto nel tempo e che dovrebbe passare fra i vari paesi e fra le varie persone. Ecco, questo è il mio sentimento nel ringraziare la nostra amica, che proprio è stata un'amica sin dal principio, perché mi ricordo che questa signora, che è donatrice in tutte le cose che ho detto, nella medicina, nella scienza, in tante cose, ha avuto Noi le abbiamo proposto una cosa totalmente diversa, ci ha ragionato e l'ha preso. Quindi questa è una vittoria per noi, per far capire come va conservata l'arte, come il desiderio e il pensiero dell'arte. Per farlo vivere, perché se noi non lo facciamo se noi non facciamo questo, l'arte piano piano sparirà, rimarrà soltanto qualcosa di estremamente commerciale. Quindi grazie tantissimo, grazie per essere con noi.
Okay. Grazie, Maria Vittorio. Thank you very much. And now, before we open the doors to enter the Sala di Bona, or we should say the Sala di Bona and Crevesa, because these are the two battles that are shown, I just want to ask whether there's any volunteer who likes to play a tune on the piano. Anyone feeling to be able to do that with this? No volunteers? Well, then I would. He declines. Okay. Well, well. He declines. Well. Then maybe the donor can command him to just play one tune. No, not today. Yes. Okay. He's convinced. Yes, please.
So this is Edward Grieg's Nocturne, which I played 6 years ago at my graduation exam. I tried to play the beginning of it, but I can't be sure that I played it to the end. Unfortunately, that's all I
So this just to show that the piano actually works and also how it works. I mean, this is such a fantastic sound coming out of this. I think it was worth every cent, and it will be accompanying us from now on for the next centuries. Here, it will be the piano of the Sala Bianca. Now, one other thing before we go in and open the doors, I would just like Veronica to come up here. We would all have a very long applause for this fantastic generosity that she's been committing to this institution, to Florence for years. Thank you so much. Okay, and now Veronica and I will be stepping into the doors and they will be opening the door. You remain here. Okay, all the photographers want to photograph us when we go in. So all the photographers in and then please close the door again. Okay, now Veronica and I will be stepping up to the doors and we will open it. We go to the doors.
We go together.
Yes, we go together. You all.
Also, what we have here is if you go back where you were before, we also have this representation of the bottom of the city of the bottom, which was the main issues. The main issues towards the
ma come si fa?
This group was
we also have this wonderful view in Palazzo di Pietre Dure of the. Well, actually, I will be finishing. Io finirò fra poco. I would rather like to do this somewhere here with the actual restoration work, because I'm not really here as an anchorman, but I was really here to thank Veronica for, I mean, her generosity that really made it possible to have these videos come along. Of course, the founder of this family. This is because as a patron of the arts, we have all the members down here. Yes, exactly. I mean, he used to be sitting as a model and showing all his power. But he has the instruments of architecture and of drawing in his hand. And so he is shown not just as a military man, but also as a patron of the arts and as an artist. And now, I would like to Frank to illustrate a little bit the restoration work here to the audience which follows us also live on television. So if I might hand this over to you, both microphones, and I don't know why. Maybe they would be on two channels. Okay, so we come closer to you.
Devo dire qualcosa?
Sì, sì, sì.
Ma
sì.
già, dove parlo?
In questo.
Ok. Forse non ha più voglia di ascoltare. No. I could.
Voleva parlare.
No, volevo darvi ma solo le misure per rendervi conto della sala.
Sì. 9 metri per 12.
Ah, l'ha detto?
No, ma io lo so dal principio quando ho dovuto prendere la decisione.
Sono 14,5 per 8.
A 14, io mi ricordavo.